Today I'm going to be doing a whitewash on my fireplace. I'm also going to be doing wood around the mantle. Right now the mantle has this sheetrock rounded kind of thing that matches the wall, and we're going to put a wood with a stain squared off on the mantle. And then the whitewash today, I've got this Valspar masonry and stucco and brick. This is a flat interior paint. The color I got for it is this cool gray color. So in order to do a whitewash, we're going to mix paint and water. I'm going to start off with about a 1-to-1 ratio to see how that looks. And then if it's not turning out kind of the way I want, then maybe I'll adjust it. But we want to do the grout in between the brick tiles or the stone tiles I have. It's going to be all white, and then the stone tile is going to be kind of more of a transparent white, if you will. So I don't know, it's hard to explain, but got a couple of different applications here. I'm going to use a brush to start off with, and if I don't like the way it's turning out, maybe I'll move to the sponge and see how it goes. So let's get started. Most of this video is going to be time-lapse as I'm putting the tape and doing the paint and stuff like that, but you'll see what I'm after. Is that 1-to-1? I have no idea, but we'll try out and see what happens. All right, that's about the consistency we're looking for, I think. So only thing really left to do is kind of test it out on the brick, stone, tile, whatever that stuff is. Okay, I think I got it to the consistency or texture or coloring that I want. It's still pretty wet, so it's going to dry probably a little darker, but kind of what we're after is the grout pretty white versus the stone a little bit darker. And I think that's kind of what we're got here. So what I did, essentially, took my consistency with the brush, painted the whole thing, and then went back with my big sponge here, kind of dab, 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 dab all the way across, rinse, repeat, dab, 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 until I got to this. And once it all dries, we'll get a better idea of kind of what it's going to look like permanently, and then I'll pull the tape off of it. All right, that's what it looks like with the tape pulled off it. Really happy with how it turned out. There are some slight imperfections where the tape pulled some of the paint off on the sides, but I've got that paint, that's easy, I can touch that stuff up. Wiped some of the paint off of the metal of the fireplace around the black. Turned out pretty good. I still got some white on the floor I gotta clean up, but other than that, Really happy with that actually. So the next step is to put the wood across the mantle here. I'm gonna fully encase this in all the way up against the wall and all the way down underneath the underside too. So it's gonna be fully encased in basically a box. And then that will kind of complete the look of the fireplace. All right, for this project, I got this pine board here. This pine board is about $46 at Lowe's. It's a 1 by 12 by 8 foot piece. Lowe's does a pretty good job on the sticker here. You can see that the actual is 3/4 by 11.5 by 8, but common 1 inch by 12 by 8. So I got 3 of these boards, so it should be more than enough I need. 8 feet is longer than I need because I think the length of my mantle is 70 inches long, so that's not nowhere near 8 feet. So I'll have extra to do the sides and stuff like that, which is perfect. So alright, I got a couple pieces cut out here to length, and I'm just trying to get a general idea of how I'm going to put this thing together. Originally, I wanted to do 45s on every side and completely box this thing in almost seamless. Problem is that not everything is square. In other words, the house, the mantle, the measurements from here to here, and the wall. You can see there's a little bit of a gap. I think it's closer here. And then this here, this to here, all those measurements need to be basically perfect in order for it to be seamless on every 45-degree angle, which is nearly impossible. And so rather than doing that and futzing with that and making it look like butt, I've decided to kind of do a boxed in this way and overlap the pieces, but I'm going to do them in a particular way. So for the top piece here, cut, and I'm going to do all the way over the top. Then the face here will go like so underneath, so that all the top will be seamless. And then the bottom piece that goes underneath will have the butt up against the piece that goes this way. So the front face will be from here down, and you won't see a seam down here. Then what I'll do is for the edges, I'm going to butt, they're basically going to overlap like that. The top will go over it like so, and then I'll cut it, then I'll cut it down, and then the front face will go over across the top. So on this side, all you're really going to see is from this side here. So overlapping down, and then underneath you won't see it all. That's kind of the idea. So we'll see what happens. This is my top piece here. I got the length that I want. I got to cut it down 8.5 and rip the board all the way across. I've already kind of made my marks here all the way down, and I got my straight edge, and I'm just going to line those up on my marks, run a line, take my saw, cut it, and then that'll be the top of the mantle. This here is going to be the face of the mantle, which needs to be 11 and a quarter, which I think this is already basically perfectly, yep, 11 and a quarter. So I don't need to do any cutting on that. So I've got my top, got my face, and then underneath, that's going to be a little bit shorter all the way around, because that's going to butt up against the wall, against the fireplace, then up against the face, so it'll be a little bit shorter. Plus I got to cut out those little stands on either side of my fireplace too, so that's going to require a little bit of work. So let me get that ripped, and then we'll nail these two together, and we'll tackle probably the sides after that. We'll do the bottom last probably. Okay, got that piece ripped out. This is my my top, and now I'm going to join that with the face. Okay, so I want to do the box ends now, the caps, I guess, before I do the bottom piece. And so what I've done here is, since this is not perfectly square, I put a little rack strap in here to kind of bring it over and then make this in square before I mark the end piece. And then I'll have to loosen it up again because this side here is a little bit off square that way. I don't know if you can see it or not. And then I'll loosen it up and put that one on that side. So right now I'm going to set this piece up here, mark where I want to cut, which is right here. Alright, so my measurements, as you can see, are off a little bit. I don't have enough, it's not wide enough to cover this bottom. So what I'm gonna have to do is go back to the store and buy a half-inch thick piece rather than a 3/4 inch thick piece, and put that in its place so that way it fits. And I don't have this, I can't just leave that. That ain't gonna work. Alright, so I had to go and borrow my neighbor's planer to plane this skinnier to fit underneath here because the board was too thick. But now it fits perfectly. That's exactly what I needed. So now I can screw that up there, tack that up there, and I'll be ready to stain. Finally ready for staining. I'm using this mid-wax finish here. It's a dark walnut. It's supposed to hopefully match the floor as close as possible, but if it's off a little bit, that's okay. All right, there she is, all stained up. Not the most fancy thing, pretty wide because of the added wood, but it'll be all right. Darker than I wanted it to be, so dark walnut, too dark. Maybe a lighter color next time.